Let's get Schwindy.
All right, so in this video, I'm going to be going over how to do a front to rear jump or a rear to front jump. It's a convenient way and quick way to get your amplifier power to your front and rear speakers. So in the back here, I have aftermarket 6x9s, and I actually got the same 6x9s in the doors here. Now, those were included with the car when I bought it. Somebody put in aftermarket 6x9s in the doors and in the rear, but they're being powered by the head unit, and they're tremendously underpowered. Even though this head unit puts out decent power, still not enough to give clean power to those 6x9s. So what I'm going to do, instead of running brand new wires going from my amp to all four speakers, I'm going to do what's called a front to rear jump. So let's dive into it. All right, let's show you back in here. Okay, so there's my subs, there's my subwoofer amp, and here is my mid and high amp, which I have not hooked up any speaker wires yet, right? I got the power, I got the signal, but I still need to hook up speakers. So here's the deal. Traditionally, you would take channels 1 and 2 and run speaker wires going all the way to the front speakers, and then you'd take channels 3 and 4 and you'd run them to the rear deck or your rear speakers. So in efforts to save time and to be able to utilize your car's existing wiring, we're going to circumvent a lot of that, and this is how you do it. All right, so this is what you do. You go ahead and connect speaker wires to all of your outputs here. You got channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4. So you go ahead and connect all of your speaker wires, and then you go ahead and run them all the way to your rear speakers. In this case, they're in the rear deck back here. Sometimes they're in the back here, but in this case, in a Mustang, they're in the rear deck. So you're going to take all 4 of your speaker wires and you're going to route them. You can make it look nice if you want, and then put it towards your rear speakers. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then show you what to do from there. All right, so boom, just like that. I got my speaker wires connected to the outputs there, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I got it routed down there, coming up and around. And let me show you in the back where it ends up. All right, so I made sure to keep them extra long just in case I needed to stretch them a little bit. But as you can see right here, I got them labeled. I recommend doing this. So channel 1, channel 2, and then this is channel 3 and 4 right here. All right, so that's step 1, is you go ahead and connect the speaker wires and you run all of them to the back where your back speakers are. In my case, they're right back here, the rear 6x9s. All right, so let me go ahead and get in here. So whoever installed these, they tucked the crossovers in up here, because these speakers do have their own external passive crossovers. Yours may or may not, it doesn't really matter. Because what matters is the factory wire colors. So the factory wire color for the right rear speaker, in this case, is orange with a red stripe and white with a purple stripe. And on the left side, the factory speaker wires look like brown with a yellow stripe and gray with a blue stripe. So to understand what you're doing here, again, this is a way for you to connect a 4-channel amplifier without having to run wires, new speaker wires, all the way to your front doors, having to take off the door panel, take off, the existing harness, wire through the accordion, and do all that nonsense, right? It just saves a lot of time. And if you're not running a high power setup, I'm going to be putting 75 watts per speaker here. So, this factory wire, even though it's small, it'll do just fine for what I need it for. If I was going to run high powered doors and have multiple speakers and over 150 watts, then yeah, I probably wouldn't do this, but this is just fine for this application. So here's the deal. How this is currently installed, again, you got your head unit, and then you got the front 2 channels going to the doors, and you got the rear 2 channels going to these 2 speakers here. So it's a 4-channel setup. If you have more speakers, less speakers, it's going to be different, but this is very basic. You can figure out how to do it on your own with your own setup. But very basic, that's how it is. The head unit, the aftermarket head unit, is set up in that manner where channel 1 is front left, channel 2 is front right, channel 3 is left rear, channel 4 is right rear. That's how it's hooked up. So This is how you circumvent having to go through all the nonsense of pulling the door cards, wiring, laying a new wire, going through the door accordion and all that. So here's the concept, is what you're going to do is you're going to disconnect. Let's start with the left rear speaker. You're going to disconnect it completely from the factory wiring, okay? So what you're going to do then is you're going to take, because these are going to eventually be powered off your amplifier, right? Channel 3, channel 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect this completely from the factory speaker wires. And since this is going to be running on amplified channel 3, we're going to take the cord that's actually coming from channel 3 of the amplifier, and we're going to directly connect it to the speaker, right? And that's going to leave this available. Okay, so keep that in mind. We're going to connect channel 3 of the amplifier directly to the rear speaker, and that's going to leave this vacant, which originally was here to run this speaker, but we're going to use it for a different purpose. All right, now let's pause for a second, and we're going to do the same thing over here. So we're going to disconnect the speaker from the factory wiring, and since this is going to be running off channel 4 amplified, we're going to take the wires that we ran from the amplifier, we're going to find channel 4, and we're going to plug it directly into the speaker. And that's going to leave this wiring vacant. All right, so now with that setup, you're going to have these rear speakers good to go. They're connected to the amplifier, all set, and you're going to be left with the factory wiring for the left rear speaker, and you're going to be left with the factory wiring for the right rear speaker. All right, now this is what you do. Very simple. This is where the trick comes in. So let's start with the left. Okay, this factory speaker wire is now going to be running your front left door. Now, how is that possible, you ask? Because from the factory, this is connected to run your left rear speaker. Well, this is how you do it. So you take your left factory speaker wires here that are left over from your left rear speaker, and you're going to take from your amplifier, you're going to take channel 1, and you're going to connect it to those. All right, so you're going to be sending an amplified signal from your amplifier to your original wiring that was meant for this speaker, but we're going to reroute it at the head unit so that it actually goes to your front left door. All right, that way you circumvent having to even pull the door, having to worry about a harness, having to run all this wiring through the floorboard and all that nonsense, okay? And then the same thing over here. So after you disconnect all this, right, you're going to be left with the wires that are coming out from the factory here. So on this case, you'll take number 2, right? You'll look for channel 2 here, which is right here, because this is going to be powering your right door speaker. And you're going to connect that to the factory wiring there. All right, and what's going to happen is you're going to have an amplified signal coming out of the amplifier, going through the original speaker wires that were meant for this speaker, but we're going to rewire it at the head unit so that these wires are now spliced into the front door wires so that everything is connected, everything's amplified, and you saved yourself a lot of work. All right, so on the left side here, I got channel 3 coming from the amplifier going to the left rear, and I got channel 1 going from the amplifier coming to the existing wiring. There you go. Same thing on the right. All right, so the rest of the job is taken care up here at the head unit. Let me go ahead and pull this out. All right, boom, shift knob removed, panel removed, and then you have access to your head unit here. All right, so let me try to explain this, the whole front to rear jump thing. So as of right now, okay, the head unit, okay, don't pay attention to anything I did in the back, okay? Let's just forget about that for now. So as is, okay, you got the head unit powering all 4 speakers. So you got the front left speaker coming out of the head unit, going to the front left speaker in the door, right? Same thing for the gray there, which powers the front right speaker, going to those wires, going to the front door, and so on and so forth. All right, so to make things easier, I'm just gonna go ahead and disconnect it, because in all honesty, you're not gonna need that anymore because we're gonna be running amplified. So we don't need the speaker outputs from the head unit anymore. All right, so step 1 is going to be to double check to make sure that you have the right wires for the right speakers. Now, it's pretty safe to say that yes, you know, those speakers there correlating with the wires here, these two are going to be your right rear based off the standard colors of being on the purple side. It's safe to say that, okay, these white wires, which are your front left speaker, are going to be these two on the right here, your blue and your orange with green. But just to double check, and I always do, just to make sure things are right, because the last thing you want to do is cut things, splice things, put everything back and realize, oh gosh, the wrong speaker is connected or a speaker is not playing. So there's something that I do, 9-volt battery. Okay, very simple to test to make sure that you actually have the right speaker with the right wire, right? You just pop it to make sure that that's the speaker that you're intended to connect to. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that and make sure all 4 speakers pop correlating to the right wire. All right, so basically what I have here is I have a 9-volt battery clamped with 2 little wires coming out, and all you're going to do is you're just going to touch the positive and negative to each set of speaker wires, and when you do that, you're going to hear a pop. So for example, I'm going to touch the speaker wires to right there, the one on the far right and the one right next to it, and correlating with the harness, they're the white wires, and we know the white speaker wires dictate the front left speaker. So when I go ahead and jump those 2 wires there, the orange with the green and the blue with the white, you should hear a pop coming from that speaker. All right, let me get the harness. And it doesn't matter which one you put positive, which one you put negative, because it's either going to suck in or suck out. So here we go. Put one here. Now we should hear a pop here once I get it in. Hear that? Let me try it again. Perfect. So we got that coming from the left speaker there. So that verifies that those 2 on the right are in fact the left front speaker. So we're going to double check that one. We're going to double check the ones in the rear deck, and then we're going to go ahead and cut and splice some wires. All right, so we verified all the speaker wires, and they are in fact in line with the color. So we're going to go ahead and get to the splicing, cutting and splicing part here, and go ahead and complete the jump. All right, so I cut the factory harness there. I always like to leave a little bit just in case I put things back to factory and take out my stereo when I sell the car, get rid of it, whatever. But there it is. I'm left with all those wires there, and it's time to do the jump. All right, next step is to go ahead and get all the tips stripped, which I did, and now we're going to splice the appropriate wires together. All right, so I'm going to spend a little time here because this is the part that usually confuses the most people. So I went ahead and spliced those 2 together. So my left side is done. Now I need to just worry about the right speaker, but let me just go over the left speaker here just so there's no confusion. So again, we're jumping the front speakers and rear speakers, the left side together, right? The wires together, so that the front left speaker is now getting its power directly from the amplifier. All right, so how we do that, again, we're going to be splicing the white and green wires together, which translate to these colors. So if you look over here, the front left negative, okay, which is the white with the black stripe, is going to be this one here, which is blue and white. The left negative is going to be that bottom green wire, which translates to this one here, the gray. So in other words, the gray needs to be spliced to the blue, all right? And that leaves those 2, the brown with the yellow stripe, to be spliced together with the green and orange. As you can see, I've done that there, all right? The gray is spliced with the blue and white, and the brown with the yellow is spliced to the green with the orange, or the orange with the green stripe, sorry. All right, and so those are twisted together, ready for crimp caps, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the same process for the right side of the car. And then the jump has been completed. And boom, just like that, voila, everything is connected, put back, and we have a fully amplified system with the front door speakers utilizing the existing wiring, and then the rear deck speakers running directly off the amp there with new speaker wires. So yeah, excited, fired up, it works, and it's a quick way to get the job done. So Hope that helped. If anybody has any questions on that, let me know and I can go into more depth for you. And if you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe, like this video, turn on those notifications so you don't miss how to take your ride to the next level. Let's get loud.